As a fan of the NFL, there is nothing that's more important to me than making sure that we can preserve this game as long as possible and make sure that the players that sacrifice their bodies playing this game can exit and live happy and healthy lives for the rest of their lives. And that's been a huge focal point for the NFL. But however, as a result of this, the NFL is suffering from two major problems. One is the fact that player safety does affect the quality of football being played, and the other being that they're incredibly inconsistent. And as a result, there are some NFL legends, some which play this game currently, that are really upset with this. So before we get to the content, make sure you drop like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. We just hit the 800,000 subscriber mark, and from the bottom of my heart, I wanted to thank each and every one of you for allowing me to work my dream job each and every day. Now that we got all that out of the way, break! We made $1,100 off of a $20 entry on Prize Picks. And it wasn't just me, it was everyone that followed these picks on my Instagram story. And the best feeling is the amount of people that made money as a result of this. I mean, bam, 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 bam! My DMs were flooded, so the best part for me was seeing you guys make money as well. But we're not done yet. PrizePicks has a promo for a free square. All Kevin Durant needs is to score 1 point on Christmas Day, which means we only need to get one pick correctly in order to make some more money. If you haven't signed up for PrizePicks, use my promo code Mikerophone to double your deposit up until $100 on PrizePicks. And I give away my picks on a daily basis for free on my Instagram story and now my Snapchat story. We're having so much fun doing this. I'm so happy that I made you guys some money, and thank you PrizePicks for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? About a month ago, Kareem Jackson, a 35-year-old defensive back for the Denver Broncos, was suspended for a total of 6 games, and he was fined multiple times over this past season. The reason was because he was consistently lowering his helmet to hit opposing players. Now, in the case of Kareem Jackson, he's 35 years old, and he's been playing in the NFL since before they made a point of emphasis to protect offensive players in the NFL. And since he's closer to the end of his career than the beginning of his career, it seemed very unlikely that he was going to drastically change the way he played football just to appease the NFL. The main hit that was the straw that broke the camel's back in this particular instance for Kareem Jackson was his hit stick on Josh Dobbs. And the reason why this was so polarizing was because you could make an argument that this hit resulted in a fumble, which was a very big defensive play. Kareem Jackson would have been applauded for such a hit about a decade ago. But as a result of this brand new initiative to protect offensive players, primarily quarterbacks, and since this big hit was on a quarterback, Kareem Jackson was suspended for 4 games. Now, this caused quite a stir in the NFL. On one hand, you want to do whatever you possibly can to make sure that the NFL's offensive players don't suffer traumatic injuries. You want to make sure that they're playing as long as possible, especially at the quarterback position where the bulk of the NFL star power happens to be. I mean, Tom Brady just recently played until the age of 45. Do you think that would have been possible if the NFL didn't make a bigger initiative to protect quarterbacks? Aaron Rodgers just recently said that he wants to play until the age of 42. And this is all possible because quarterbacks are being protected more and more. But the problem with this is, as you protect the quarterbacks more, as you try to move away from tackles that could result in injuries, you also weaken the ability to play defense significantly. And this resulted on Tom Brady, the greatest football player of all time, who was protected by these rules. You can make an argument that he won an additional Super Bowl as a result of these rules, went on Stephen A. Smith's show and said that this is ruining football and it's resulting in mediocre football being played.
I think there's a lot of mediocrity in today's NFL. I don't see the excellence that I saw in the past.
Why not? Why not?
I think the coaching isn't as good as it was. I don't think the development of young players is as good as it was. The rules have allowed a lot of bad habits to get into the actual performance of the game. So I just think the product, in my opinion, is less than what it's been. I look at a lot of players like Ray Lewis and Rodney Harrison and Ronnie Lott and guys that impacted the game in a certain way, and every hit they would have made would have been a penalty. You hear coaches complaining about their own player being tackled and not necessarily, why don't they talk to their player about how to protect himself? We used to work on the fundamentals of those things all the time. Now they're trying to be regulated all the time. Offensive players need to protect themselves. It's not up to a defensive player to protect the offensive player. A defensive player needs to protect himself. I didn't throw the ball to certain areas because I was afraid players were going to get knocked out. That's the reality. Wow. I didn't throw it to the middle when I played Ray Lewis because you knock him out of the game, and I couldn't afford to lose a good player.
Now, this is significant. These rules benefited Tom Brady, but he makes a very legitimate point. It's the quarterback's job to a specific degree to make sure that he's not throwing what we refer to as hospital balls. A hospital ball is whenever you throw a pass that the wide receiver will most definitely try to make, but it could result in him, for the most part, getting put in the hospital. Tom Brady explained that he avoided throwing down the middle whenever he was facing off against Ray Lewis because Ray Lewis would quite literally hit stick the opposition and it would result in Tom Brady's receivers getting injured. This was part of the game plan. And I guess Tom Brady laments the fact that this element is being taken out of football, and as a result, you're seeing worse and worse defense being played. The other issue with this is the fact that the NFL doesn't seem to have any consistency at all whatsoever whenever it comes to suspending these types of plays. For example, this hit on Russell Wilson was okay by Chris Jones. This hit was also okay by Brian Branch. This hit by Lenore was ruled to be okay. No personal foul, no unnecessary roughness. This was when the 49ers were up 42-19, and it was fine. But this hit by Damontae Kazee got him suspended for the rest of the season. Now, the Pittsburgh Steelers are notorious for making brilliant coaching decisions and also making sure that they give maximum effort on each and every play, both defensively and especially on offense. The Steelers somehow are 500 this year, which in my opinion is nothing short of a miracle. But during their last game against the Indianapolis Colts, there was some controversy. You see, Damontae Kazee, who is a defensive back for the Pittsburgh Steelers, laid out two big hits. The very first hit was on Josh Downs after Gardner Minshew hit Downs down the middle, and at least from this particular angle, I don't necessarily know what else Kazee could have done here. It seems like a routine hit. It doesn't seem like he was leading with the crown of his helmet. This hit was without a doubt clean. It's a good hard hit. I don't really think that this is disputable at all whatsoever. But it gets controversial during the next drive, where Gardner Minshew finds Michael Pittman Jr. for a beautiful diving catch, and then Kazee comes in with a big hit, which really doesn't look good. I mean, you could even tell Michael Pittman Jr.'s neck starts to turn a little bit. I mean, a little bit more force, and something bad could have happened to Michael Pittman Jr., and I'm really happy he's okay in this particular instance. There's a big problem here, just a big foundational problem with the NFL in this particular instance that I don't even know the solution to. On one hand, as a defensive back in the NFL, you are incentivized to hit the wide receiver as hard as freaking possible the moment they make a reception, because if you hit them hard enough, they can potentially drop the football. Now, the Pittsburgh Steelers are up 13-7 here, and this is about a 30-yard pass to Michael Pittman Jr. If you're in Damontae Kazee's position, I don't really know what else you're supposed to do. A lot of people think that these defensive backs kind of have a choice here. I mean, you could either let him make the reception, or you can go in and do what you've been training to do all of your life, which is hit the wide receiver as hard as freaking possible so he could catch the football. Now, obviously, the fact that he got his neck is a very unfortunate part of all of this, but these are split-second decisions here. And obviously, we should do whatever we possibly can to minimize these types of hits in the NFL. And in my opinion, you should eject Damontae Kazee for this hit. Even though it was kind of out of his control, this gave Michael Pittman Jr. a concussion, and we should do whatever we can to discourage these types of hits from the NFL. At the same time, I can't help but think about what Tom Brady said in the earlier part of this video. It's the quarterback's responsibility to not make this throw. Is it worth losing Michael Pittman Jr. for the rest of the game, or potentially the rest of the season, by throwing what we call a hospital ball? In this case, Kazee did what he was supposed to do. He forced an incompletion that would have been a 30-yard gain. And the reason why this is so controversial is because following this game, the NFL announced that Kazee is suspended for the remainder of the season, which falls in line with the inconsistency inconsistency of the NFL. You see, if this was a hit where it seemed like he was headhunting and he was doing whatever he can to knock Michael Pittman Jr. out of the game for good, then I'd understand. But in this particular instance, I don't really know what else he should do. As a matter of fact, he probably was applauded for this defensive effort by his team because he forced the incompletion here. So he did his job theoretically. According to Adam Schefter, the NFL announced it has suspended Pittsburgh Steelers safety Damontae Kazee for the rest of the season for violating playing rules intended to protect the health and safety of its players. Now, I want you to know, Kazee isn't necessarily having the greatest year for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but he's coming off of a remarkable 2022 season. So losing Kazee is a very significant deal for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are trying to finesse a wild card playoff spot somehow, some way. And ironically, Tom Brady came in and discussed why this is a huge problem. So Tom Brady commented on this post saying nobody likes seeing players get hurt, but hard hits happen. QB should not be throwing the ball in areas where they are exposing their own teammates to these types of hits. Coaches need to coach better. QBs need to read coverages and throw the ball to the right places, and defenders should aim for the right hitting areas. To put the blame on the defensive player all the time is just flat out wrong. Need better QB play. It's not okay for QBs to get your wide receivers hit because of your bad decisions, which is true. In this particular instance, if you take a look at this play, Gardner Minshew is throwing it within a very tight window, quite literally between three Pittsburgh Steelers defenders. This was not the right read. It was a terribly thrown football. It was the wrong way to go with this. And the thing is, while we should do our best to discourage these types of plays, while we should do our best to discourage these types of hits, I feel like Gardner Minshew should also get some sort of fine for throwing this hospital ball to begin with. I'm all for holding the defense accountable and trying to ensure that this doesn't happen in the future, but that doesn't mean that the offense should consistently have a get out of jail free card each and every single time. And I feel like the reason why the NFL lets this pass is by weakening the defense and giving the offense a get out of jail free card. You're essentially giving a handicap to the defense, which allows the offense to score more easily, which results in higher scoring games, which results in more exciting football games, which at the end is just good for the NFL. So I don't know, maybe the NFL decided to suspend him for the rest of the season because they felt like it was two unnecessary roughness plays in one game. I just wish there was more consistency here, and I'm glad that Tom Brady is at least making an effort to hold the quarterbacks responsible as well. Let me know in the comment section down below, do you agree with this call by the NFL? I'd like to hear what you have to say. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.